Good morning, everybody. Sunday morning here in the UK, and I hope you're having a great start to your morning, especially if you're up bright and early. So today I'm talking about how to deal with toxic people when running your business, and this is a topic that, quite interestingly, I see quite a lot, and I see from a lot of people who reach out to me, and they want to know how to deal with, people who, especially people who are close to them, who are toxic, as in perhaps they have a closed mindset, they don't have an open mindset, and what it can actually do is bring you down, as a business owner, as an individual, as a human being. And as I said, I come across it quite a lot with clients who reach out to me, and we're speaking, and they say, Leon, how do you deal with this, or how do you deal with that, especially when the person is in your close family or the person's close to you. And it can be challenging. And so what I'm going to do is take you through a few steps. Before I get into that, I'm just going to share on screen. I've got a couple of things I just want to go through in particular, and just share with you. So let me just get that on screen. Here we are. There we go. So if you've got any questions today as well, guys, just let me know. I've got a couple of announcements, just very few, and then I'm going to get straight into the content with this. So it is good morning, business owners. If you've been with me over the past, I think I'm running this now for 3 weeks in a row, 3 or 4 weeks, I can't remember, to be honest. Every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. talking about life and business, not just business, kind of marketing and sales, which is what I usually talk about. But this is more kind of, day-to-day stuff as a human being, what you've got to get through, and coping with things, and making, your life a success, which is why I guess today I'm talking about how to deal with toxic people when running your business. This, as I said, it's a big thing, and it's a big thing that has an undercurrent where a lot of people, they don't talk about it, or they can't talk about it because it's so close to them. And it's one of those things that becomes challenging. But before we get into it, I just have a few announcements, guys. I've got the online business summit taking place this week coming up, so the 16th to the 17th of July. Make sure you register. I've got 16 experts who are going to be part of the summit, with great interviews on what you can do right now to recession proof your business and create a way to win in times of recession. There's business owners who I've got as these guest speakers for this summit who've done 6 figures, 7 figures, and 8 figures. Like, these are real experts, change makers, people who have done what a lot of people, I guess, want to achieve or want to strive to achieve. So, make sure you register. Go to www.obsummit.com. Make sure you register. I'd love to have you on board. And final announcement, guys, if you need any help in growing your business, just remember to reach out to me. You can drop a comment or message me directly on Facebook or YouTube, where this is streaming right now, or you can go to leonstreet.com/apply and book in a time for us to have a chat. So moving forward on today's topic, how to deal with toxic people. And as I said, this is no easy feat. So let me get into it, because I don't need to share my screen for this part of the rest of the presentation. So I've got a few stories that I want to share with you. So if you've experienced, toxic people in, let's say, in your life, around you, around your business, just drop me a comment, just say, yeah, I've experienced it. Because sometimes, I guess, when you're going through it, perhaps you don't even see it, because that was one of my personal experiences. I was in a relationship where, because of a past failure with another business, there was an undercurrent of that business being the reasons why everything hadn't worked out particularly well. And what I didn't realize at the time, it's like that caused a lot of problems, and the person I was with, they didn't particularly appreciate that, and it was a recurring theme that kept coming up, and it allowed, I guess, that kind of to fester. And so the point I'm getting to is that sometimes that person can be really close to you, yeah. And how do you deal with it? And at the time, I wasn't dealing with it because I wasn't really focused on it was a problem. I was trying to be positive and get over it. And when you're dealing with toxic people, what you've got to understand is that it can be really close to you, and sometimes it can be so close that you don't even acknowledge that there's something bad going on, as in the environment or the atmosphere that's created because of that person, or the impact that it has on you, as in not to excel, not to be, your full potential, just to be you. And when you're going through that, it can be really shitty in life and business. And so that was an experience that I had. And when I looked back, there was a few, I guess, key events that happened during that time that stuck out to me that at the time I didn't acknowledge. I kind of moved past it because I thought, oh, the kind of person I am is pretty positive. I help a lot of people, and I don't tend to dwell in crappy places or feeling depressed. But actually, what happened was that was part of my experience of depression because I wasn't really around somebody who was encouraging me to really go for it. And I'm here for you, and I'm here to support what you're doing in business. And that was one of the key things. Sometimes when you're in business, it can be a lonely place because the people around you, they don't understand, or perhaps the people around you, whether it's friends or family, like very close family, perhaps they've never run a business or they see you in business and they don't understand, the hours that you put in. They don't understand why you do what you do. And because of that, your family, especially if it's your family who are the toxic people around you, they don't get it. Yeah. And it's where, sometimes you may get unsolicited advice from your family. So they're trying to tell you about what's going on when actually they've never run a business. And again, this can be challenging. Now I've got another story for you. So when I was younger, my mom was in a relationship that wasn't particularly great, yeah, with a guy. And I remember at the time, like, the household was very toxic because this guy he had the wrong attitude. He liked to go out, party and stuff. And at the time, I remember it was a really challenging time for me because I really didn't want this guy in the house. And it wasn't my decision because it was a guy that obviously my mom was in a relationship with. But the point I want to get to is because of that, there was a lot of tension. Yeah. And I remember at the time just feeling so frustrated because there was a lot of crap going on in my house as I was growing up. So like 16, 17. And, as a teenager, and I'm going back because I remember it so, it was like yesterday, the frustration of what I was experiencing. Because in your house, obviously you wanna have a household where you feel I guess safe, you feel comfortable, you feel like things are great. But I remember at the time, having no control on the situation because it wasn't my relationship and it wasn't my house, it was my mother's house. And the point I want to get to here with this is because of it, there was a lot of stuff that happened, and therefore I kind of secluded myself away from I guess my mom, my sister, and like that experience in the house. Why? I secluded myself because I thought that's the best way to approach this. I don't want to have any involvement. And if you look at yourself as an adult, obviously I was a teenager then, but if you look at yourself as an adult, because I've done that as well, where I've got toxic people around me, but instead of dealing with the person in a really good way, I took myself out of the kind of I guess situation, the environment. But I didn't do it by considering some things, which I'm going to share with you in a moment, guys, because it's so important in business. Because unless you're fully aware of yourself and you have, let's say, like a high level of consciousness, and I don't mean just being alive, I mean like truly being awake to what's going on around you. There's a lot of times where you're going through an experience, and because you want to stay positive, or you default into, let's say, where you can cope with things or manage things, you don't acknowledge it for what it actually is, and you start putting up with things. And this is where the toxic problem really kicks in and becomes a pain in the ass. You start putting up with things, and that becomes the new comfort zone. And because it becomes the new comfort zone, that is now affecting you because you're lowering your standards to accept that type of behavior or input from people around you who are toxic. And as I said, it can be very close family. So just only, when was it, about a week ago, I had somebody else reach out to me, family member, and they're in a job where the job is toxic, their boss is not great. And we're talking about the experience of what they're going through, and I gave them some advice on the things that they can do on how to communicate with their boss, and if that doesn't work, what the next steps are available. So, perhaps let's say you're in business and you're in a situation. It could even be, you're very close to the people around you, and whoever is bringing this kind of toxic energy into your lifestyle is, very close, and you're thinking, well, how do I deal with it? So I'm going to give you some steps, guys, because trust me, when you're dealing with people who are close and in family or very close friends, but you're not able to articulate or communicate clearly, it can be a problem. And it can be a problem because sometimes you might be allowing the behavior, you might be the one putting up with things, and therefore that's what's allowing them to keep being this kind of toxic person around you. And if you've never experienced anything like this, then great. If you're watching this right now, you've got an interest in what I'm speaking about. The biggest thing for me is that you may have experienced this, but you may not have acknowledged it, yeah, or you may have allowed it to continue, and this is where the real problems really kick in. So what can you do? So if there is somebody who's around you, family or a friend, and they're kind of bringing this toxic energy, they either put you down or they put your business down, or they come into your life and they moan about life. They're not moaning about you or your business, they're moaning about life in general, and they kind of leech on you for your great energy, your positive energy. This is where you've got to be aware to what's going on with that person. So if you've got a detractor who's talking down at you or to you about your business, let's say, what you've got to do as the first step is look at, well, what or why is this person doing this in the first place? Like, what have you done to them to influence them to give their opinion or for them to give you that feedback? Yeah. So first of all, look at the situation, like what's actually going on here. Is it about the business or is it about something else, but they're using the business as a way to get at you or to communicate, but they're communicating in a shit way because that's the only way they know how to, unleash or unload what they have to say. Could it just be what they have to say or their emotions? So look at the situation. And once you've looked at the situation, and look, I know this isn't easy, especially if you get emotional as well, if you get angry, if you get sad, if you get, depressed, if you get, I don't know, if you go through emotions that are negative at the time and it's difficult to deal with it, then you've got to look at the situation when you're not going through it. So kind of just step aside, and really analyze what's going on with you. So once you've done that, look at what's the good that comes out of that person speaking to you in that particular way or talking about your business in that particular way. And bear with me for a second because I'm going to give you some specific points. So even if that person is being negative towards you, what three good things can you take out of the situation? So here it is. Number one, it could be, for example, when that person speaks to you in that way, you are able to respond back to them without biting their head off, without getting angry, without going through something where you're kind of lowering your standards. Yeah. And that's a really good thing as an individual, as a human, as a business owner. It shows that you can control how you respond because you want to respond in the right way. So that's number one. And you can think of three things that, in a situation like that, what are three good things about this? It could be that if the person has spoken to you about, let's say, especially your business, that this person has no experience because they work in a job 9 to 5 or they never own their business. Yeah. And so what it shows is that they have an opinion, but it's not valid. So you don't have to listen. You don't have to take it on board. And the good thing about this then is what you need to, or what you can then do is you can deal with the root of their problem. So if they're bringing something to you about their business and they have no experience in business, or they've never, been in business, then there's something else. It isn't about your business. And this is good just for clarity, because sometimes we can get lost in, oh, why are they talking about my business? Maybe there's a problem with my business or a problem with me. Yeah. Now you can get to the root of it. So number three, so if somebody comes to you who's close to you, family, friend, and they are a toxic person, and let's say they're talking about your business, like, did they have any experience within your industry with what you do specifically? Are they, for instance, like an older person who ran a traditional type of business and now they don't understand what you do with your kind of 21st century business, digital marketing or online, or just the different things perhaps that you do in your business, that they're trying to influence you with their old kind of approach to business, but it's not valid with what you do. And so the cool thing is, in each of these situations, what I'm sharing with you is that you can take yourself out of the situation so that you see it for what it is. yeah, and you don't take what's happening to you too personally. And I say that, with the greatest respect, because even when we don't want to take things personally, when it's close to us, like family or friends, we do take it personally. We're human beings, yeah. Even if we say, "Oh, I won't take it personally," there is even a small percentage of what kind of it feeds into you, and you don't let it consume you, but it's still there. So the greatest thing I'd say is that in each of these steps that I've just explained to you, is that you take yourself out of the situation, analyze it for what it is, yeah. Then, now here's the thing, then what you've got to look at are, what are your routines to get beyond people being negative, yeah. And I'm going to give you a few steps of what you can do, a few things that you can implement in your life, kind of tools. If this makes sense as well, and you're watching this back on a replay, just give me a yes, like, yes, Leon, this makes sense, so this is useful. Give me a thumbs up as well. I really appreciate you watching, by the way, guys. So some of the things that you can use in order to deal with, obviously, people being toxic around you. Now, what I find is very powerful and very useful is every day, every morning, every evening, I meditate. I meditate to clear my thoughts and clear my intentions, like make my intentions clear about what it is that I want to go for, to fulfill my goals, fulfill my vision. Yeah, and that sets me up every day. Also, take a look at who is close to you and who you want to spend your time with. So if you've got people who are close to you and you can't get rid of them, like your mom, your dad, brothers, sisters, cousins, that kind of stuff, then you've got to strategically look at, how do I spend less time around them? Yeah, because spending less time means that you have less of that toxicness going into your life. Yeah, and so if they can't change, which when you approach somebody, you explain to them, look, I noticed that every time we're together, you talk about this or you talk about my business, but actually I want to deal with it now and get to the bottom of it, why you seem to be picking on me. And then let's say you speak to that person and they say, oh, I don't do that, and they go defensive. Just kind of explain to them, but you've got to maintain a kind of like a calm, positive approach, and just say, here's what I'm experiencing, so I just want you to see, I'm not trying to have an argument, I just want you to understand how it's impacting me, because I'm sure you want the best for me. This is an important one. I'm sure you want the best for me. Is that right? It's a leading question. And obviously the person, if they say no, then they will also see that actually they don't want the best for you. Or I guess most people are going to say, yes, I want the best for you. And so you'll end up seeing that actually you're helping them to see that, that behavior is not helping you. And if they do want the best for you, they're going to listen to you in that moment. So test it. If the person who's around you is very toxic, and let's say they're beyond kind of like just putting you down, they get anger and there's physical things going on, then I would say do this with caution, guys. And I've been in that experience, because like I said to you, the story about my mother being in a relationship when I was 16 or 17, that person was, bordering on violence, physical. So for me, do it with caution. And I'm not encouraging you to like kind of just, stand up to somebody and physically get abused. Yeah, because that can happen, guys. And I'm not encouraging you to put yourself in danger in that way. If that's going on, you need to seek more professional help, guys. And that's the best approach for it, because, it isn't easy. And like I said, I've been there and I've witnessed some stuff go on. Anyway, so the approach of standing up for yourself and being assertive is very important. When I didn't do it, I guess when my first business failed, I was in a depression for about 4 years. Yeah, not clinically, but when I look back, I realized that's what it was. Yeah, because I wasn't expanding, I was, compressing, depressing. So anyway, the point I want to get here is, be mindful of what's going on around you. That's why I use meditation. Be mindful, because sometimes we don't see things because we accept things. And so therefore, when we accept them, we stop seeing them for what they are. So, what you've got to do is take yourself out of the situations. And as I said a moment ago, if you've got to spend less time around the people who are toxic, even if you live in the same house, then you must do that. So if you've got to go out, and work from like a hot desk or remote office, or you've got to go, to like a public place, could be a park or somewhere, or a coffee shop, which, we will slowly get back there as the social distancing is eased even more. I would advise you to do that, guys. You have to create the environment in your head and around you to allow you to be great, to allow you to live and experience, in a place of love, not in a toxic place, because that's the very thing that can pull you down and keep you away from achieving your goals or being the business owner that you are meant to be. Nikki, thanks for your comments, by the way. I've just realized I just saw them popping up. If they don't want the best for you, you need to give them a wide berth. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I was talking about. It's like you've got to put the space between you and them, because if they're not getting it, but it is affecting you, then you must do something to preserve you, to allow you to be great and do the best things that you can do for you. So, hopefully that's made sense so far, guys. I was, really thinking about it, like, what can people do because of going through this, clients reaching out to me and talking to me about, them going through these toxic experiences as well. So the final point that I want to talk about is just moving forward. So when you've gone through that, there's a great exercise that I want to share with you, and it comes from a published author who's a friend of mine called Derek Mills from Birmingham. He wrote the 10-second philosophy. I'm just seeing if I've got, oh yeah, it's called the 10-second philosophy by Derek Mills. It's published by Hay House Publishing, and in the book he speaks about standards, and he has this thing called the perfect system. So the perfect stands for an acronym, and it's like people, environment, relationships, time. I can't even remember what the last E was. Career. Oh yeah, F was for finances, and the other P was for physical health. That's it. So you got these like 7 areas of your life, and what he talks about is in each of these areas, what are the standards that you want to set? So you set 3 in each of these different areas of your life. There are like these 7 areas, and what you therefore change is not necessarily what way you're going to achieve them or what goal you're going to put in place, but what standard are you going to live towards? So if your standard around relationships, i.e., the people who are near to you that are toxic, and they're not great, and you want to improve it, you've got to look at what standards are you going to put in place, and these are going to be the standards that only these that you accept in your life and business. Yeah. And I would say to you, visit Amazon, go and have a look at the book, grab the book, because it's a very easy system to follow, whereby you can start to look at your life and say, am I living up to those daily standards, or am I letting my standards drop? Because if you want to change things, you've got to start with you. You might have toxic people around you, and them, like I said, you may live with them, and it may be very difficult. But unless you start with you, and you start with what you want as your vision, your standards, the things that you want in your life, you'll always be living up to the negative side of what they're putting into your life, rather than saying, I don't allow that, because here's what I allow. Here are my standards. And so for me, that's been a big thing. Looking at what it is that you choose to accept, and for instance, like even trivial things, let's say you're arguing with your partner, making sure you deal with it before you go to sleep that night. Yeah. So you get straight to the nub. If there's something challenging going on between, you, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, like deal with it there and then, not as in angrily, deal with it to get the bottom of it and discuss things and say, look, I can't move forward. I don't want to leave this situation, and for the next few days we're not speaking to each other. Deal with it. That's what I find really works. If that's not possible, and the person is very, let's say, angry, or they're just very closed off, you may need to just give them time. Yeah, that may be the flip side of this. But what I like to do is kind of deal with it there and then, not angrily, just to get it done and just put to bed. Because a lot of the times, if it's not them, just be mindful of what standards have you allowed to take place, where perhaps maybe you triggered them in the first place. Because that's the other side of this, guys. The more that you're in the right space, you're living from, a place of love, you're living from a place of your vision and putting something good out into this world, the more you're going to get of that. But just be mindful of your own habits, your own behaviors, and just make sure that you're not the trigger to this as well, which I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying be mindful. But do check out the book, The 10-Second Philosophy. It's a nice read. And there's some great, as I said, tools that he gives you in the book that you can use. Just want to shout out Derek Mills, actually. I'll tag him into this live video. But other than that, guys, hopefully there's some stuff in there that you can take away, because one of the biggest things I think going through life is if you're in this environment of toxicity and it's not contributing to your life or your business, it's only going to do one thing. It's only going to bring you down, and it becomes an anchor. And unfortunately, that anchor can pull the ship down to the bottom of the ocean, right? So I want you to be in a place where you can basically look at the situation for what it is and just take stock of what's going on rather than just reacting. Like, look at what's going on, be almost mindful of, like, how am I responding right now? What do I need to do to change what's going on and set the right standards, to be clear, to be assertive, to get my point across for the right reasons for both of you, because that's what it's about ultimately. And especially if that person's a family member, they're going to be around a few years. It's got to be something that you deal with in the right way, because there's no point in not speaking to somebody forever just because of negative reasons. Because even when people are toxic in your life, there's a lot of good to people, I would say, as well. Yeah, but when that toxic side rears its ugly head, that's the thing that can really, it can detract away from the good that is in people. And you don't want to be in that place, because I'm guessing most people in your life bring something positive, even if it means that you've only got to experience them for 10 minutes at a time. Yeah. So anyway, guys, Nikki, thank you very much for interacting. Thanks for your comments. It's been awesome. I'll be back on Wednesday next week. As I said to you guys, I do have my online business summit coming up. If you are interested in being live with me, I'd recommend you to register. There's the link on the screen. It's olbsummit.com. It's taking place this Thursday and Friday. I've got 16 experts who are going to be giving some great content on goal setting, mindset, business, marketing, sales, property, just different aspects of how to recession-proof your income, as we're officially going into a recession over the next 2 months. You've probably seen all the headlines on the BBC. Oh, we're going to have the worst recession ever. That's right. It is coming, guys. The governments have been printing a lot of money, and so therefore there's got to be a way for that money to come back. Yeah. So if you want to find out how you can take your business to the next level, register, join me on the summit. Looking forward to having you on board. And other than that, guys, I'll be back next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m., where I'll be talking more about marketing and sales. And finally, if you want to join me next Sunday again, I'll be right back here, 8:30 every Sunday. Good morning, business owners. That's what these Sundays are all about. So on that note, guys, I'm going to end it. I'm going to go and get some breakfast and enjoy the rest of my day. Take care. Have a great one.